President Trump says that Iran wants to make a deal as a huge armada is now stationed in the Middle East. The commander-in-chief has been weighing new strikes on the Islamic Republic over its ongoing deadly crackdown against protesters. And Lucas Tomlinson is live at the White House. Lucas.
Good morning, Kaylee. Some of those same jets that took part in the Maduro raid in Caracas earlier this month, if you can believe that, are on the move. We're talking those EA-18 Growlers, those electronic warfare jets, as well as the F-35 stealth fighter jets. They have departed from Puerto Rico. They've been sent over the Atlantic. Most of them are at bases in Europe, some of them following on to Jordan. And President Trump says he hopes he doesn't have to use them.
Are you giving Iran any kind of deadline to make a deal before potentially taking
Only they
action?
know for sure.
Have you communicated that to them
Yeah,
directly?
I have. We'll see how it all works out. You know, they have to float someplace. They might as well float near Iran.
At sea, there are now 8 guided missile destroyers in the waters of the Middle East. That's over 750 vertical launch tubes that can fire Tomahawk cruise missiles to hit targets deep in Iran, or SM-3 and SM-6 missile interceptors should Iran launch a salvo of short or medium-range ballistic missiles. There are also submarines lurking in the area, Kaylee. Their names and locations classified. Some of these destroyers are part of the USS Abraham Lincoln Aircraft Carrier Strike Group, now on station in the Arabian Sea within striking distance. In addition to squadrons of F-18 Super Hornet attack aircraft, the carrier also has 5th-generation F-35 stealth fighter jets as well. That's the C version. There are also EA-18 Growl electronic warfare jets aboard as well that can jam and destroy Iranian radar systems and surface-to-air missile sites. Now, air defense units continue to be moved and shipped into the region as well. It takes about 10 C-17 flights to establish one Patriot or THAAD battery. Those are departing from Fort Hood, Fort Sill, back to the United States to Europe, follow-on trips to the Middle East. Kaylee, so it might be a few more days before that air defense is in place. Kaylee?
Lucas Tomlinson, thank you. And stay warm out there. I see that snowy White House lawn behind you. All right. Well, joining me now is retired 4-star General, Fox News senior strategic analyst, and chairman for the Institute of the Study of War, General Jack Keane. General Keane, I have some pictures from the New York Times. They're surveillance pictures that they were able to obtain, and you can see the posture of the United States. We know, as was just noted, the Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier outside of Iran, I believe, is in one of the images. What does this say to you as you look at this buildup?
Well, I mean, we've been watching this unfold, for a couple of weeks now, and certainly I think, based on media reporting, there was an attack option likely a couple of weeks ago. But what we've seen here is considerable additional resources being brought into the region, being flown into the region, and not a lot of reporting on the scale of that, which is quite significant. But it's easier to track ships. And what this is all about is certainly providing the president with a robust option to take advantage of Iran's vulnerability. So our audience understands Iran has never been as weak as it is right now since this regime took over after the Iranian Revolution. They took over in 1980. They are at their weakest point politically, economically, and militarily. And look at, during the 12-day war in June, not a single proxy came to Iran's defense. Hamas couldn't. Hezbollah, who had thousands of rockets, I called a senior IDF general and said, why isn't Hezbollah attacking Israel to help defend Iran? He said, sir, we decapitated their leadership and we have broken their will. That is absolutely staggering. They are in the same condition today. Russia and China did not come to Iran's aid. So we cannot overstate the opportunity that is in front of us here to take advantage of Iran's vulnerability. And what would this military operation be about? I mean, certainly it's setting the conditions for the eventual collapse of the regime, because that hasn't been there before. And it certainly supports the protesters and provides a foundation and rationale for the sacrifice that they were certainly willing to make. When you get into the operation itself, this is Israel and the United States. We're all talking about the United States because of movement of forces. Israel doesn't have to move forces, obviously, but it would be a combined operation. And we're going to have considerably more offensive capability brought into this. And there's a range of targets out there for sure, from leadership to the organizations repressing the protesters, the ability for Iran to export its oil and their distribution facilities to do all of that, and then a significant military focus on ballistic missiles, because they have been recovering what they lost as a result of the 12-day war, and we took down probably about half of those, the Israelis did. And the reality is they have been working very hard to recover that. Air defense systems also have to be defeated here. And then the other part of the resources being brought in, so our audience understands, is that Iran, with those ballistic missiles principally, has the ability, and with some short-range rockets, to hit U.S. bases in the region, and with the long-range ballistic missiles to hit Israel. So we're bringing in assets to defend against that better than what we had before, and also a significant capability to destroy as much of that as possible and reduce the effectiveness of their attack, either through offensive measures as well as defensive. I think that's what we're seeing in front of us, and it's just a matter of when.
Well, General Jack Keane, thank you so much for your insight, as always.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.